It felt like I woke up overhearing, like God was in the middle of praying over me. God was praying over me. And I woke up hearing that. Like,
wow.
Karen, I'm too much.
This is going to be the most emotional. I love it.
Oh my gosh.
Full permission,
Yeah.
Emily. Welcome to the podcast, mamas. Today, I am stoked to interview one of my favorite people online. And I'm sure you will agree with me on this. I'm talking today to Emily Vondy. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here. As you know, I'm like 40 weeks and some change in a couple days, and I've just been loving your podcast. So.
I know. I'm like, don't go into labor. Don't go into labor. I need to interview this woman.
Oh gosh, I knew, given my history, I knew there would be a really good chance that I would not be in labor yet. So I figured it'd be a safe bet, a good distraction.
Yes. So we're going to be stirring up all the oxytocin vibes on this interview.
Yes.
And I think Emily has an ulterior motive of sending herself into labor, which I am 100% cool with.
Yes. We're getting all the birth vibes, getting in that oxytocin land. Yes.
Absolutely. That's what we're all about on this podcast. And so Emily has an incredible story to share with us about the birth of her fifth daughter. We may touch on lots of other topics. I posted a little question sticker in my stories, like not even 12 hours ago. And you guys went bonkers over this interview, and literally like 40,000 people viewed the story. I have hundreds of questions. I might get to like 5, but it'll be like, if you get picked, you won the lottery. Because she's going to share her birth story today. For those of you who don't know, Emily is an influencer. She is a musician. She is a speaker. She is a mama of 5 who lives in Minnesota, right? And a comedian, and just such a beautiful soul. Like, if you do not follow her yet, what have you even been doing? Just go follow her on Instagram right now.
That was such a sweet intro. Thank you for that. That was very nice.
Oh, it's true. So let's jump right into it.
Yeah.
Tell us, I know this is such a story with all the feels. Tell us where you were at before you got pregnant with Vivian, and what that leading up to this story. Because I just feel like I want women to hear the full, the heart of this whole thing.
There was so much there. Gosh. Yeah. So before Vivian, I had a ectopic rupture, like maybe 6 months before. So finding out I was pregnant again, we knew that we weren't done having kids, but it happened like maybe a couple months sooner than I anticipated. And it did catch me off guard. I was instantly like had all this fear, kind of. I think anytime pregnancy after loss, that first time, or anytime really, you have so much fear, more fear, it really made me realize like the beautiful naivety of being pregnant without having had any losses. You just don't even go there mentally, and then how much that can change. So anyways, I had a lot of fear right off the bat. I felt like I was really trying to kind of surrender that fear to God, and just not being able. I just couldn't. I just had so much fear. And I remember praying with my husband one night, and he was just kind of like, and he kind of prayed over me. And I was at a point where I was just kind of like, the only thing I could offer up was yes and amen. That's all I can give, The cool thing about God, though, is that sometimes that's enough. Because that night, this is
he just needs your yes.
Yeah. He just needs your yes and amen sometimes. Oh, which is such a gift. Because that's sometimes I feel like all I can literally give. That night, I can kind of run anxious. So when I'm having anxiety about something.
I love that. I feel like that's so relatable. I think I kind of run anxious.
I kind of do, unfortunately. It runs in my family. So typically, like if I'm anxious about something, I'll wake up in the middle of the night and my mind is like already mid-thought about that anxious thing. It's like my mind never turns off, and it's cycling through this anxiousness all night. So typically that's what happens. Like I wake up, I'm already mid-thought. I'm instantly met with the thing that's making me anxious. But this night, after my husband prayed, I like woke up, and it was like I woke up to it. God, I haven't thought about this in a while, but it felt like I woke up overhearing, like God was in the middle of praying over me. God was praying over me. And I woke up hearing that. Like,
Wow.
Karen, I'm too much. I'm too pregnant and hormonal for this.
This is going to be the most emotional. I
Oh
love it.
my gosh.
Full permission,
Yeah.
Emily.
Okay. So yeah, he was kind of, it felt like God was praying all the things I wish I had the strength to pray in that moment, but like couldn't. So he was like saying things like, I have given you this child to mother well. I have equipped you to mother this child well. You are thankful for this gift of life. Just all the things I wish I could be saying. There is no fear, you know? And then from that moment, I was like, okay, you know, like this is good. And it kind of like flipped that switch in early pregnancy for me. Like we can do this, you know, kind of thing. So that was kind of the first really cool way God met me, from the kind of casting out the fear of loss right off the bat. And then there were some other things that happened that brought fear back in, you know, because humanness,
it tempts and comes right back.
Yes. So, you know, it was a straightforward pregnancy, beautiful pregnancy. I went the farthest past with Vivian. I went 12 days past, and I always usually do go past my due dates, but it was getting to a point where I was starting to get anxious and fearful, you know?
Yeah.
It's
such a mental battlefield.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Those last days, because I really did not want to be induced. I had never had to be induced before. I was thinking, your mind just goes into all the what ifs of all the what if scenarios. Usually they're negative, you know. I liked a little series on YouTube years ago, and she would talk about, like, instead of playing the what if game, all the things that could go wrong, you're like, what if this is the most amazing birth ever? What if I'm shocked at how incredible it is, you know? So anyways, in those last days, I was met with a lot more like fear, anxiety, feeling really just like weak and not mentally in a place where I could be, because preparing for unmedicated birth, you know, you want to feel like ready. You want to kind of feel confident and strong and all the things. And I would talk to my husband in the evenings, like, I just feel so like weak right now. I don't feel like I feel like my faith is kind of shaken right now. I don't feel like I'm easily trusting God. I feel physically exhausted, like just kind of in a bad headspace. And then that's the first time my husband told me, like, Emily, this is like the perfect place for you to be, because, you know, when you are weak, then he is strong. And what an opportunity for God to show his strength, you know, in these last days leading up to birth. And as soon as he said that, like, it was like this weight lifted off my shoulders. Like, oh, I don't have to be strong right now, because it's actually okay that I feel weak right now, because God could be my strength, and that's better than my strength anyways, you know?
Yes.
If I can take his strength over my strength, sure. So that felt like a relief, kind of like God, just another God moment of like, he's got me. I don't have to. In my humanness, I so want to kind of be in control of everything. You know, like it's up to me to be strong enough for this birth. It's up to me to do, and there is so much mental and physical prep you can do for unmedicated birth, and it's all good. But sometimes all the expectation on yourself is like, there's no way I'm gonna do it perfectly, you know? So
right.
Yeah.
I feel like as women, we put so much pressure on ourselves, and that extends into pregnancy. And now we're 40 weeks, we're going past 40 weeks, and and that pressure just builds and builds. And so much of it is like, we try to want to fix something. We want to, you know, do something to like help our body, do something to go into labor. And like the mind is running, and it's like the perfect, you know, moment. It is like that preparation of surrender. It is that, like, God is like, hey, you can't do anything to make this happen. And it's such a vulnerable moment, because we truly, I feel like, are faced with our humanity and our limited our lack of control. And what a beautiful place for God to show up, like you said, in our moment of weakness, in our desperation. What was it like when you did go into labor? So you're 12 days passed, what
Yeah.
was it like when you did go into labor?
So I did end up having to get like a Foley balloon to put me into labor, which you
Tell
know
us
what?
about that for those who don't know.
So,
I love the way you explain this.
oh gosh. So it is kind of seen as, I guess, a more holistic method of induction. If you do have to get induced, it's non, I guess, medical. But basically they put a little balloon up into your cervix.
Mhm.
Yes. And then they pump it with saline to mimic the pressure of baby's head on your cervix. Yeah.
So it's like a
So
mechanical means of dilation compared
yes.
to Pitocin or Servidil or other drugs. They would give you that affect the chemistry of your body. This is
Yeah.
more of a mechanical dilation using a balloon, just like you
Sure.
said.
Yes. And so because and it's so common for my babies not to drop and engage until I'm in active labor. So
Yeah.
she was just sitting up there high, not putting any pressure on my cervix at all. So, the hope was we're getting pressure on the cervix. And
Yeah.
then once you dilate to 4, the balloon just falls out by itself. And the goal is it helps kind of you start dilating, balloon will fall out. You know that you're at 4 centimeters. You can go back into the birth center because they put the balloon in and then send me home, to try to get labor to do its thing. That was like, so they'll even like the closer
That's awesome that they sent you home with the balloon. I didn't know they could do that.
Yeah. And I was like, yes, very cool. Cause they want you to be the birth. I've loved the birth center I've given birth at with all 5. I have had really good experiences. I'm having a home birth with this one, Karen. I don't know if you knew that. My first home birth.
Yeah.
I did
This is your first home birth?
Yes, Karen. And I randomly decided at like 35 weeks pregnant that I was going to do a home birth. And so you know what? We're going to roll with it. And it's going to be
That's
wonderful.
amazing. What made you change after 5 babies to a home birth?
No. Well, so our birth center, I do love it so much. It's an hour away. And
that's a long ways.
Towards like the end of my pregnancy, you do have the weekly appointments, driving in an hour. The hour drive, which we'll get into, turned out is one of my biggest testimonies from my last birth, the hour drive to the birth center. But typically I do not like that hour drive. Typically that hour drive is the absolute worst. So I'm trying to and I had my sister-in-law just had a home birth. She was actually the one that was like, Emily, why haven't you done home birth yet? And I'm like, I don't know. I've had such good experiences at the birth center. It's kind of like, why change what's working kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And then she kind of like put it in my mind, well, it could be even better than you even expected kind of thing.
Yeah.
Kind of like,
I tell women that all the time. It could be even better.
Right.
What if this one's even better?
Exactly. So she put that kind of seed in my mind. I was like, well, you know what? Yeah. This is our last. Might as well just go for it. So anyway,
when I was listening to this story, and you were describing this hour-long car ride. I'm like, she's having her home birth the next one.
You were right. You were right. Oh man, that's so funny. So
yeah, and I tell women too, like, what's the difference of birthing in someone else's home or quote unquote birth center?
Yeah.
Versus birthing in your home in terms of like safety from just a purely logical standpoint, you have the same resources. Mm-hmm. Your midwives are either going to bring those resources to your home or they're going to have them at the birth center. But the things you don't have at home are the same things you don't have at a birth center, which is like an epidural, an operating room, an anesthesia or whatever. And so it's like in terms of safety, it's kind of the same. So why not just be where you feel most comfortable?
Yeah. And that's exactly like how the midwives I met with kind of explained it too. They're like, we can provide all the basics that you would get at the birth center. We can provide too at your home. It's just like proximity to a hospital or it's that kind of thing. So
you might be closer to the hospital depending on where you live, and so it makes sense. Yeah, for sure. And that's why it's such a personal decision. But I love that on your 6th baby, you're doing home birth.
I know. It's kind of funny. Like I had this thought that for my 6th, I was either going to like go completely rogue and do like a random hospital epidural or which I'm glad I didn't go that route. You have those moments you're just like, why maybe I'll just do it.
You're just going to like roll the dice and see what happens.
You know what? Even though I know so much about why I would want that. Emily. Yeah. And so
you know better.
The incentive, I mean, I totally get like, oh my gosh, I'm actually the only woman in my family that does that wants desires unmedicated birth. So I totally get like the appeal of the epidural, and like it's kind of like you have to want it. I talk. Oh, sorry, we're gonna go on a side little tiny side trail, but so like running a marathon might seem so crazy to some people. I never want to run a marathon right now. Running a marathon sounds horrible. But
I completely agree. My husband is training for a marathon, and
Yeah.
I keep saying, like, why would you do that to yourself?
Couldn't be me, but I love that for you.
Exactly.
So like with birth, sometimes it's kind of like, oh, so I have a twin sister. She just gave birth. She has it's like 7 months ago. And me, in my mind, is so like, Amber, you're going to experience the most incredible thing. Like giving birth has been so transformative for me, and blah, 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 all the things I love about birth. And it's been so holy and like strengthened my relationship with God. And it's just incredible. And she's like, I just want to go to the hospital and get an epidural. So I'm like, that's okay. You don't have, and then I have to turn off my, you know what I mean? You can't like, not, so if someone doesn't desire that, it's not, that's their choice, and you can't like make someone want that. You know what I mean? For some, like motherhood is such a huge, that's where their mind's at, motherhood, not birth. You know what I mean? Birth is such a, like, and the way I view it is birth is such a milestone into motherhood. And it's such a, like I said, transformative event. But for some, it's like a snapshot, and they don't, you know what I mean? Anyways, so
yes,
I just want to make it clear, like no less
like every
valuable.
birth is sacred. Every birth is valuable.
Exactly.
I completely agree. Yeah. And I don't mean to minimize those that have medicated births, because each woman goes through that transition in a transformation, that initiation into motherhood. And we all do it in different ways, and none are less valuable than another. So
yes, thank you. I needed to say that. I love all mothers so much.
Oh, we feel it. So tell us about, the Foley bulb. What happened? They sent you home and you're in labor.
Yes. So real quick, like leading up to knowing that induction was on the table, and that if I wasn't going to be in labor, that kind of is such a whole mind game too, because we had the Foley balloon induction date like set. And as soon as it was set in my mind, I'm like, oh, I have to go into labor before this day. And that can kind of mess with you, That's when I started getting a lot more. That was another opportunity for fear to kind of take away my peace. And me and my husband started like meeting, like after the kids would go to bed, we'd pray together every evening and really just have like intentional time of rebuking fear and really just kind of pressing in. And I feel like that intentionality made such a huge difference in setting up my birth story and setting up how it kind of played out, taking that time together.
That's beautiful too, though. Like they're in bed. It's just you and your husband.
That's when I can kind of fully, I'm not like in necessarily mom mode anymore, once they're in bed. So that was just kind of a sweet time of setting up the scene. I feel like it really helped put me in a position of knowing that it's okay to trust God, because the times I have trusted him, he's come through for me. So I kind of built my faith in those last days, because typically, me running anxious, going past my due date, knowing there's a good chance I have to do this Foley balloon thing, and that's different and scary and not normal. And that triggers my anxiety, like anything that's not the norm or what I'm used to, out of my comfort zone. I had so much peace in the days leading up to it from like praying with my husband at night. So I felt like that was kind of supernatural, just that God was giving me peace in those moments. So so they sent us home with the balloon. The balloon definitely like irritated my uterus. My uterus was like, did not like that balloon. I don't want to do the balloon again, Karen. In Jesus' name, no balloon again. I mean, it did the trick. I'm glad that it worked, and I was able to have a uncomplicated birth. It did what it was supposed to do. I didn't have to go to the hospital, so thankful for it in that regard. But
yeah, I mean, it avoids all the interventions. It sounded like in your case that it avoided Pitocin and all the other things that women typically get with an induction. So it definitely does the job, but I can understand it's not a comfortable experience.
Yes. So I am thankful that it did the job. It just is like, I felt very crampy.
Yeah.
As soon as it was put in. And, typically early to active labor is so manageable for me.
Mhm.
that it felt like early and active labor was just more intense than it typically is. And that can
Yeah.
that kind of messed with me a little bit because, we got home, kind of contractions did start, but they were like more intense than I'm used to in early labor. And I'm kind of like, oh, I don't, this is usually when I distract myself. This is usually when
Mm.
I'm like, I don't know, doing last minute things. But kind of, early labor is fun typically. And I'm kind of like breathing through them and asking, like wanting to get in my bathtub. And I'm like, oh gosh, this is going to be. So I did. So I remember I got in my tub and my mom was with me and she was like pouring water over my back. And I remember looking at my mom and I'm like, Mom, I'm not even at a 4 because I know the balloon is still up there. And they said you could like kind of tug the tether it's attached to, give it a little tug once in a while to see if it wants to come out. And it was like firm. And it was not budging at all. So I
Yeah.
knew I'm not at a 4 and these contractions, I'm like in the bathtub right now. I'm not usually in the bathtub till transition, So
Mm.
that was,
So that's probably scaring you. Like, what?
oh,
It's so intense, and I'm not
yes,
even a 4.
yes. That was a huge mind thing. Like
Yeah.
it felt, and birth is relies so much on your hormones that it felt like there's no way I'm going to be able to get on top of these. Like
Yeah.
I was like thinking of the trajectory of my birth because I'm still mentally in early labor. I'm not in my like lizard brain or whatever,
Yeah.
And
So your brain's telling you that, like,
yes,
oh, this isn't good. This is going to be, how are you going to handle the active labor?
yes. If I'm feeling all this right now, like in early labor, I was like, my mind was so totally going there, trying to think, how the heck am I going to do this? you know?
Yes.
So, oh my
Our
gosh.
brains totally psych us out,
Yes.
especially with when we introduce like any kind of measurement, like numbers. Oh, your contractions in this far apart, you're only quote unquote like 3 centimeters
Yeah.
dilated,
Yeah.
or you've been in labor this amount of time, you have to give birth within 24 hours or by your due date. If your water, broke, like
Yeah.
whenever I find whenever we introduce measurements and numbers like that, it just messes with our head.
Yes.
And
Mm-hmm.
the more you can like disengage from all of that, and obviously it's not possible, like when you have a balloon in your vagina and you're waiting for it to fall out.
Right.
but the more we can like totally escape that, I feel like
Mhm.
it gives our brains less to try to control.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. That's exactly it. And so I was totally in that like thinking brain. I didn't have any of the good hormones I needed to cope in that moment. So my mom was like, well, maybe you should, because I'm like starting to vocalize a little bit through contractions. And my mom's seen me give birth. She's been in all my births, my mom. And she's kind of looking at me like, do you want to call the midwife? Like, and tell them that you're
Like,
kind
this
of,
seems like you should call the
right.
midwife now.
Like, yeah. My mom's looking at me like, you kind of don't act like this typically till the end. So
Yeah.
I called my midwife and she kind of was just listening to me. I was talking to her and then not being able to talk to her through contractions. She's like, cut out the balloon, cut it out. You can take it out. And I'm like, oh my gosh, thank you. So the plan was cut the tether, let the saline drain out. And then if contractions, either they were going to like stop completely and fizzle out, or they'll continue and this labor will continue. So she said to cut the tether and then wait like an hour. And if the contractions are still the way they've been, then to come in. So we did that, and contractions did not stop at all. They kept coming just as intense as they had been, which I was thankful for in that moment. Because I was like, when she said, they might fizzle out when you take it out with the balloon. I'm like, no, absolutely not. That will not be happening. That will not be happening. So yeah, we called her back an hour later. We're like, yes, things are still pretty intense. Like she's like, okay, come on in. So the intensity of the contractions did not lessen at all after the balloon was out. I think like in hindsight, I was probably just like dilating fast, probably. That I think the balloon definitely probably did irritate my uterus as well. But like thinking about why they were so intense that early, I don't know if it was just from the balloon, or I think back sometimes you try to like analyze your birth, like I wonder,
Yeah. And that pressure it creates like you said, a pseudo pressure, like it's baby's
Yeah.
head, which is what dilates you. So,
Hmm.
and your body starts contracting in response. And it's probably also like, what is this foreign object in here? Like, let's
Yeah.
move that along.
Yeah.
Well, that's good that it didn't decrease. At
Yes.
what point did you decide to go into the birth center?
Yeah. So after we called, I feel like sorry if I'm breathing really heavy on your end. I feel like I can't breathe at all right now. I feel like people listening to this are going to be like, "Oh my gosh, what's wrong with you?"
Is she like jogging while she's doing it?
I feel like even just talking gets me out of breath right now. So
This is a full-term pregnant woman, ladies and gentlemen.
give me the lane. Okay, so yes, we decided after we called them back, we left kind of shortly after that. Contractions were just as intense. I still was kind of in that headspace of because I still in my mind I'm thinking I'm not at a 4. I'm not at a 4 yet, even after we took the balloon out, because I knew, we cut the thing. So I'm not at a 4 and contractions are this intense. I'm still in that kind of negative headspace before
So
getting.
your brain is still like chirping away.
Yes. But then I'm like, well, might as well go in though, because, anyways, we do have an hour drive. So we get everything ready to go. And I have like 5 contractions outside of the car. I'm like, I'm not getting in that car. I'm not doing that. It felt like getting in that car felt like getting into like a jail cell. I did not want to be trapped in there. Because I do like to kind of move and sway and to help cope with contractions. And my husband prayed for me again before. Oh, God bless praying husbands. God bless them. So often, like, I have found myself relying on his faith when my faith doesn't feel strong enough. Relying on his to get us through some of those moments has been like, oh, gosh, such a beautiful part of our marriage.
Yeah, it's so beautiful when you were describing that. How did that impact you lean on his strength in those moments through pregnancy and labor?
Yeah.
How did that impact your relationship?
Oh, it totally, like, this is why marriage is such a gift. This is why he's like my perfect helpmate. This is why God gave me him, to rely on. It definitely like strengthened that just foundation, like that security I have in him as my like perfect helpmate. It makes me feel like I can't imagine life without him, with how much. And it's the faith that unifies,
Yeah.
It's like our shared faith that really kind of is that firm. It's so much security. I can't, it's hard to express how much security it gives me. How much, like, I'm not only like relying on his faith and strength, but it's his faith and strength in God. So it's like him and God power, like superpower combined. Like
lifting you up.
Yeah. My husband's strength combined with God's strength. It's like dynamic duo times a million. Oh, so it's such like a relief. It's like the most relieving feeling in the world, knowing that my husband and God are carrying me, kind of. Yeah. Oh gosh, it's hard to even.
It gives you permission to be in your feminine, to surrender, to fall apart.
Yes. Oh, like a burden lifted off. Like, it's just the best feeling.
It's beautiful.
So yeah, he prayed for me one more time before I get in the car, kind of like reminding me everything that God has been showing me through the pregnancy, through it's okay to be weak, kind of just reminding me of the ways God has shown up, and that it's okay to trust that, giving me permission to trust that, and giving me permission to surrender, And then, so I finally got in the car after he prayed, and it was the same thing. It was kind of like a yes and amen prayer.
Like were you feeling pretty anxious about getting in the car at that moment?
Yes. And he's praying over me, and I'm like, okay, yes and amen, Lord. Yes and amen. And I'm thinking, I'm still kind of in my mind, like, how
am I going to do this hour-long ride to the birth center? Yeah.
I don't even know how to like fully express the dread it felt getting in the car. Like, yeah. So we get in the car, we start going. First, like, contraction or two were just as horrible as I anticipated them being, because I'm setting myself up for that a little bit. So first 2 contractions, horrible. I'm like thinking, this is, I'm starting to think all the things. Drive me to the hospital. I'm not doing this. This
Give
is
me the
like,
epidural.
yeah, because I'm still so focused on the fact that I don't even know if I'm for. I don't even know if I'm for. And I know how transition can get, And I'm
Yeah.
feeling and I'm panicking because it's like my hormones are not working for me right now.
Yeah.
How am I ever going to catch up? They're going to be on top of me this whole labor. It's going to be horrible. I'm just doom and gloom, horrible headspace. And then I chose to pray, like to take a moment, pray. And I think I literally just prayed like, Lord, help me. Like I need some supernatural intervention here to kind of get me to get out of my head. And then the next contraction came and I felt him just like shushing me a little bit, not like a condescending, quiet now, be quiet, but like a gentle, like kind of quiet your spirit, quiet your mind, just be still. Oh my gosh, that's like one of my hardest things to do in life. Period. Be still and know. I feel like that's like an ongoing theme he's trying to teach me. Be still and know, Emily. So I was like typically in the contractions before, I was like just kind of whining through them almost. Like, ooh, like just not making good labor sounds, whining, pity party, and then after I heard him like, shh, I just was like still for that next contraction. And that's when he started showing me just these incredible like visions. I guess that's the best way I could explain them is him showing me visions. And what was so cool is like typically, we talked a little bit before the state of labor you go into. What did you call it?
So it's like labor land or this
Labor
altered
land is
state of
altered.
consciousness.
Yes.
But yeah, like your brain waves change and
Yes.
you're more aware of the spirit realm.
Yes. So he kind of brought me into that but typically, and I have experienced that in my other labors in transition, in close to transition, I have experienced that. But typically it's only when I've set up my labor space for my hormones to work with me in a way that I'm able to enter labor land, because I do so heavily rely on entering that state to cope with the intensity of contractions. So I didn't think I was going to be blessed with that in this car ride, but I totally feel like God, because, who knows where I'm dilated, who even knows, but I don't think I was in transition, but maybe I was. Who knows?
It's kind of like all the numbers fade away.
Yeah.
Like God, I'm just picturing like God dropping into the car in the back seat, or I don't know where you were, front or back.
Yes,
just
I was
like
in the back seat.
Yeah, like
that's
just
totally what it was. Like heaven descended. God was like, God. It feels like God's like, I'm taking over this birth. Okay, I got it from here. And
I got goosebumps right now.
Oh, the first thing he showed me, which is one of my favorites, I think, is like, because it totally like disarmed me, he was like, Jesus was like the conductor of like this big orchestra of like angels and an orchestra. He was the conductor. And if his back was to me and I was like in the audience, but I was the only one in the audience. And he like turned around and looked at me, but he was so like jubilant and joyful and like, this is for you. Like you're having a baby. And like the image of it like caught me disarmed me so much that I started audibly laughing. And so, cause it was such like a sweet, like childlike, jubilant feeling I got from him. And he was so excited. He was so excited. Like here I am just like miserable pity party. And he's so excited that we're in labor, So
makes it hard to stay miserable when you see Jesus like celebrating your birth.
Oh my gosh. So that totally totally disarmed me. I'm laughing now. And I'm like, wow, and then that contraction came and went. No pain. Like I could feel that they were coming still, but I was laughing now. You know what I mean? So it was like,
Yes.
it took all the pain away from it. It was just the intensity there.
That's
So it's
the
like,
magic of those
oh my
hormones.
gosh. Yes. Oh my gosh. It's so hard to explain it because it's so crazy how like 1 minute, one moment, it is the worst pain of your life. It's like the most intense pain of your life, it can feel like. And then
Yeah.
in just like a flip of a switch with the right hormones and stuff, it can feel like no pain. That is insane to me.
Yeah,
Miraculous.
and it's not like they got any less strong. It's
No,
not like your labor stopped, but
no.
you just your
Yeah.
body in a moment can release a surge of those hormones
Yeah.
that block pain.
Yes. Yes. Because when I got there, I pushed her out. Sorry, we're fast forwarding, but just to kind of reiterate the fact that I was still progressing and I was dilating fast that car ride. I might have even been complete when I got there. So that hour car ride, when I left, I didn't even know if I was a 4. And then I was pushing like half hour after I got there. So, you know
Wow.
what I mean? So labor was
Yeah.
progressing. It wasn't
So
like,
yeah, right. So not only are they able to be pain free when you have those hormones, but those hormones also make your contractions so much more effective.
yeah, yeah.
So
So
it's
it's
like you
not
get
like,
the best of both worlds.
yes, it
And you
wasn't,
can go through that in like a dream state. Like
oh
who
my
wouldn't want
gosh,
that?
it was incredible. So
What
at
else
that,
what else did you see?
yeah. So at that point, I'm like, okay, I can do this.
Yay!
I can do this.
She's
God,
turning the corner, you guys.
yes.
She's getting the good hormones.
Oh, so then I'm thinking like,
He
and then,
must know you so well. Like he
oh,
must know, like, oh, this is my
I
girl
need to make
Emily.
her laugh.
I'm gonna make her laugh. And
Yeah.
then it's all just it's gonna be easy from there on.
Yes. Well, so as soon as I felt that, I was like, okay, yeah, we can do this. God's in the car with me. He's making me laugh. And so then I was kind of like excited for the next contraction, almost second guessing, like,
Yes,
can
I
that
love
happen
that.
again? Like thinking still a part of me that's like, is that real? Did that happen? Did that just happen? Or so then I'm kind of waiting like for the next contraction, like definitely like in a posture of like, okay, Lord, if this is you, like here I am. Let's do this. I'm like, show me everything kind of thing, in that kind of mindset. So
Mm.
the
Show me what you got.
yeah, I was like, if you're with me, we can do this.
This could be
Um,
fun.
yeah. Oh my
I
gosh,
love this.
it was such a
How
180.
quickly your
Yeah,
mindset can change and like
yeah,
how profound the impact on what you're experiencing. And that's what I want you guys to hear is
yeah.
like your mindset can shift in a moment and
Yes.
how you're experiencing contractions can likewise shift in a moment.
Oh my gosh.
Your brain is
Yes.
so powerful.
Yes. And they absolutely did. So the next contraction comes and we are like running up like waves together. We're in an ocean and we're running up waves together. That's like what he's showing me. And we're hand in hand
Like
running.
little kids do.
Yes, like little kids. And
Oh.
that's totally the vibe I felt like. It felt like we were young children running up a wave together. And that is what I felt from him. He was so like childlike running with me hand in hand. And it was so like fun. And he was so, the joy. I have video like minutes after I give birth of me trying to explain some of this to my husband while I'm still kind of delirious. And he's looking at me like, what? I should post that video because I'm telling
I
him
want
all
to
these,
see that video.
because I'm telling him like, John, like we were like, me and God were like running up waves together. And he's like, what do you look like? I'm like, I don't know.
He's like, who gave you drugs?
I know, I know. Oh gosh. It's funny watching that video back of me minutes after birth, kind of reliving it, some of it to my mom and my husband, and they're just kind of like really kind of like they both thought it was like amazing what I was saying, but they're also like, what? And we had no idea that, because they have a picture of me like what I was acting like before we left. And then I told him all that, and my husband was like, I was thinking during the drive how crazy, how quiet you were, and how it was like what did he say? He's like, I really just thought you were in the zone because you got so quiet.
Mm.
So yeah.
Did it feel like an hour-long drive to you?
No. So after that next contraction, that's one of the wildest things about it. Cause I have like a couple like distinct visions in my memory still. but they're like 3 or 4. And the car ride's a whole hour. And that whole car ride felt like 10 minutes. And
Wow.
I remember like,
That's labor land for you.
oh my gosh, it was so wild. I can't even, it's even wild thinking back at it on it. Because I remember when we got there, when my husband said, we pulled up and I'm thinking, what? Like I didn't want to get out of the car. I was like, no.
You were like, I don't want it to be over.
I'm having like the most heavenly experience right now. I don't want to get out of this car, which is so crazy because like.
And the car ride, like ladies who have taken that transfer to the hospital, to the birth center, like you know how uncomfortable that car ride is in active labor. So that is the miracle of the story, I feel like.
It is. Yes, truly. Like oh my gosh, I think back on that and just am still kind of dumbfounded by it. A couple other cool things like that happened in the car ride was, so, we were kind of, I had that vision of us kind of running up waves together. And then there was, the next contraction was coming and I could feel like that full intensity of it. And I had a moment of like wanting to kind of be brought back into like the human world, like of a moment of intensity. And I remember like looking at the clock of our car. I had a moment of thinking, how long have we been in the car? How much longer to get to the birth center? Had like
the brain turns online and wants to figure it out.
I had like a split second like that. And then, but then I knew immediately like, oh, I can't do that. And then I kind of like I closed my eyes and tried to like get into that, what God was showing me, like, okay, like, sorry, Lord, I'm back. Where were we? But I still kind of felt like I still kind of felt like kind of pulled in that direction of wanting to figure things out a little bit. And then that's the contraction where Jesus like scooped me up in his arms and ran me up the wave. And
whoa.
I know. And this is one of my favorite moments because like and I get emotional thinking about this one every time because he like holding me running up the wave. He was just as like excited and happy and proud as when we were like hand in hand, as when I could like run myself. He was just as him carrying me. It's not like, oh, I have to carry you now. It was like, no, he was just as happy to be with me and just as excited and just as childlike and like even more so to be carrying me now, kind of.
Wow.
And it was such like it was a very beautiful moment of like the way he carries us. He is happy to run alongside us, but he's just as happy to carry us and that we can rejoice in that weakness,
How did these visions like alter your view of who God is for you?
Oh, I had a moment after that where I was even asking like, is this real, God? Like, this is who you are? This is who you are? Because, I've been a Christian my whole life, but I can struggle with like this mentality that I have to do all the things to deserve a relationship with Christ, or I have to do this, and this, and then I can have a relationship with Christ, or then I'm worthy of a relationship with Christ. And kind of like, I can kind of struggle with having to earn it, or like,
the performance mentality.
Like I don't deserve it. And then this image of himself that he was showing me, which was so like unconditional love. So, and so like jubilant is maybe the best adjective I can use. And he was very childlike and jubilant and joyful, where I was like, and you kind of maybe think he's like big, serious, like, you know what I mean? Like, do this, and this, and then you can be blessed by my relationship, but this was so natural and easy and light. Like it, the verse, take my yoke upon you. My burden is light. Like it's easy.
Yeah, my yoke is easy, my burden is light.
Yes, like a relationship with me is light. It's like not this heavy thing it's not this heavy thing that I put on myself. Like I carry it around like a burden. I don't need to do that. So it really did like change my perception of who Christ is and what he wants to share with his children, like what he wants us to experience and how he wants us to perceive him. Anyways, yeah, it was very like transformative for my faith for sure. Just like, yeah,
that's beautiful.
Yeah, and so those were like the main really cool moments that in the car that just made that whole car ride like something I'll never forget. And yeah, like we got there, I don't want to get out of the car. My husband's like, okay, can you get out of the car? I'm like, I don't
I'm just gonna have the baby right here.
Oh my gosh, I probably would have if they.
I could imagine not wanting to like leave that supernatural place.
Yeah,
like I don't want to break it. Like I just want it to keep going.
Yeah, it definitely felt like I was just in this heavenly realm, and I didn't. Gosh,
I think this is something that I wish more people talked about. This like the way of that how birth can be so supernatural.
Yeah.
And we can have these out of body experiences, and to talk about it in a way that's not like super mystical. Like you don't have to be this super mystical
and
spiritual
I'm not
person.
like a mystical person really at all. I'm not. I
know. That's why I love this story, because you're just a regular mom, like everyone listening to this.
Yeah.
And here you are having these encounters with God, these visions in the back seat of your car in active labor.
Yeah.
You don't know what time it is. You don't know and even you having the temptation to like look at the clock again. Yeah. How much longer? What time is it? Like we all have that choice.
Yeah.
To like go back to our mind, to allow our mind to run the show, or we can choose to lean into like, God, what do you want to show me right now? And some people, I think we even get in our heads about having these, altered states. People will ask me, how do you do it? And how do you have labor land? It's like, it's always, we can make a choice to partner, to listen to the voice in our mind that's trying to control everything and figure everything out and perform for everything and fix problems that aren't even there yet. Or we can lean into like that quiet, still voice like you did. And it's just saying yes to God. It's leaning into believing that we are supernatural beings, that he created us to commune with him and receive downloads and information and visions from him. And it can be as easy and simple as just like closing our eyes and allowing God to show us these things. I mean, I love this story so much. And I just hope it gives everyone permission to experience this, not to be like, oh, that Emily had this incredible encounter. I wish I could be like Emily, but like, I want you to believe like this can happen for you too. Yeah. Everyone listening, that this is possible.
Yeah.
And it can be normal, not even just like possible, but like this is normal in labor. Like your hormones are naturally bringing you into supernatural realms.
Yes.
And I teach on this in my course. It's called Altered States of Consciousness. It's the brain waves. It's like the way God created us to be supernatural. Yeah. And we have this gift as women that the veil is so thin in labor. And with the help of our hormones, it makes it easy to slide in and out of reality.
Yes. In a way that you can't in everyday life. Like a big reason why I feel like birth is so like holy and sacred is that me in my everyday, I don't have that ability to like in the rush of hormones and to enter into that labor land, altered state where it makes like being in the presence of God like easy. It makes it like effortless. Like you said, like the veil is so thin during labor. I do feel like heaven descends when women are in labor because of that. You're not in the natural world anymore mentally. Yeah. And it's such it's such a gift. It's one of the things I'll probably miss most about birth is I totally think like, God can do amazing things and he's still going to be coming through for me and meeting me in amazing ways, not in labor, of course, but there's something just so sacred about it that I'll always just cherish the moments I've had during birth. Oh, it makes me sad.
Absolutely.
Not that this is my last, but yeah.
It's so true. So one of the questions one of our listeners asked online was like, how do you like get your mindset up to how like to like, going through birth every time? Like how do you psych yourself up? And it's when you have these great experiences like this, it's a lot easier.
Well, I think that I know and I trust that like early active labor is typically just very, very manageable if you're not scared of it,
Yeah.
if you understand what your body's doing. And I know that you probably talk a lot about that in your course too, just knowing what your body's doing in labor and understanding
Yeah.
it. Because if you
I think
understand
it
it,
does dispel the fear.
yeah,
Yeah.
if you understand what's happening in your body, it does make it less scary. So if you're not scared of, so that's a huge part of going into labor, knowing and trusting what my body's doing and not being scared. When contractions start, I'm like, yeah, let's go. Thank you, Lord. I try to hold that posture of like thankfulness
Yeah.
as long as I possibly can, and like really sinking in and relaxing through each contraction, and like even if it does kind of start to feel intense, tricking my or still telling my brain like, thank you, yes, Lord, this is good, all those things, and that can really carry you through active labor where it's so manageable. And I think
Yeah.
because sometimes you can even, there's the temptation to kind of start to panic in active labor. It can start in anytime you get like a little shift in intensity, you can be kind of threatened to panic a little bit.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, these ones are harder. Wait, what are we gonna do?
Yes. Yes. You
Yeah,
can reframe it
yeah,
instead of like, oh my gosh, I can't handle it now.
yeah,
Just be like, oh yeah, these are hard.
yeah, yeah.
These are harder.
Probably the only like fear clearing I have to do when it comes to intensity in labor, like leading up to labor, is remembering transition. Transition is like when it's really, you know, that's when it can be really hard to hold that posture of like thankfulness, relaxing through them is through transition.
Yeah.
But then there's a reason I choose this time and time again, unmedicated birth, is because I know that I'll get through transition. And a lot of times those transition has been my like those holiest moments for me is in transition, is when I'm really, so I think like cultivating a space where all your hormones are working really well for you so that you can kind of enter into that altered state of conscious for transition. I feel like that's what you need the most, is like transition.
Yes.
Because if
Yes.
you
And it sounds like you went through transition
I
in the
must have.
car.
I must have, because because I was ready. I may have, like I said, I may have even been complete when I got there, because I wasn't there long before I just wanted to push. I didn't get checked or anything, but so I don't know how long I was complete for. But anyways, so yeah, I must have gone through transition in the car, which is insane. Because transition, typically that's like my hardest part of labor. It's the hardest part of labor for a lot of women, transition. And that was
And
like
instead,
my
you're just there
favorite.
skipping over waves
I
with
know.
Jesus
And
this time.
transition was my favorite. And that was my favorite part of this birth, which is like, I'm really praying that this could be this similar experience
Yeah.
for this
Why
one.
not? Like, what else could God do?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Because it just made the hugest difference of like, even transition doesn't have to be scary. We don't
Yeah.
even have to be fearful of that intensity. If, yeah.
And can I just say, like, I love who you became in this labor. It was like God showed you, like, hey, Emily, remember, like, it can be playful. It can be
Yeah.
fun.
Yes.
It can be like we're two little kids.
Yeah.
Instead of like this serious,
right.
I have to be strong
Yeah.
and I'm this power woman. Like,
right.
It was like he reminded you who you really are
Yeah.
at your core true self. It's like this funny, happy girl that could just giggle with Jesus.
Yeah.
Like, why not? Like, we don't think about birth and labor that way. We think
No.
we have to be so strong.
Yeah. Yeah.
We have to get through it. We have to suffer through it.
Dig deeper, and find. Yeah. Which sometimes it can be like that for sure. But I'm very very like blessed and grateful that that's the experience that he blessed me with. That it was like fun and jubilant and childlike and light. It just, I'll never.
And is that similar to who Vivian is?
Oh my
your
gosh,
daughter?
she's such a ham. She's so she's so, like, her name Vivian means lively, and she is so lively. I didn't know that it actually meant that when I named her Vivian. And that's another kind of cool side note. Like, we named her Vivian, and then my mother-in-law was like, "Oh, her name suits her. She's full of life, like just like her mom kind of thing. And then her middle name was Joan, which is God is gracious. And I didn't know that meant that either when we picked it. And then
Wow.
because the verse that was like a theme for this birth was like, my grace is sufficient for you, my power made perfect in your weakness. And so her middle name, finding out her middle name meant God is gracious, was like, oh my gosh, that is so cool. So,
it's so amazing when God like wraps it all up like that. And
I know.
Yes. And their personality like reflects the labor.
Yes.
It's just amazing.
And, I feel like this labor was like at moments a little unhinged, and Vivian is so unhinged too. Like she's so just extra. She's so extra in all ways. And I feel like this labor was really extra. So, it's funny thinking about that.
I love that.
Yeah.
What was pushing like for you once you got into the birth center?
Pushing, I think like once I got in, I don't think I opened my eyes until after she was born. I think my eyes were just closed that whole time. There was a midwife when I was talking to my mom and husband afterwards. She had said like, yeah, you were in another realm. And so they had picked up on that too. It was interesting hearing her say that, watching the video back, hearing her say that. But pushing, like I feel like I had one contraction. I got in the tub right when I got there. And then I had a contraction in the tub where I could feel like the entirety of her head like boom, like drop super far down. Sometimes that happened where it was such a, and I think I audibly I was like, yes, like how that and that's an intense feeling, but I was like so pumped about it because I knew, you knew,
that means she's coming.
Yeah, and I think after I felt like it was so dramatic, boom, like a bowling ball dropping down, like I don't know if she was just hanging out. I don't know if she was just hanging out high up that whole time, and then one swift movement of, anyways, and then because then after that, I was pushing really shortly after that, and pushing was good. I feel like when I am finally able to push, I'm pretty like pumped about it. I'm typically pretty excited to push. You definitely have that intensity, but it's crazy your ability to I know some women, I've never experienced the uncontrollable urge to push or the fetal ejection reflex, so I guess I can't speak on that, but I have been able to, even when I'm feeling like the full of her crowning, I can hold it there and breathe through it. And you can it's super intense, but I have found it to be manageable to hold there and not like blast through, which can be tempting to do because it's such a stretch.
Because it's so intense.
Yeah, because it's so intense. But like if you kind of like can find it within yourself to pause and breathe, you can breathe through that moment. And when I do breathe through that moment and kind of like just hold space in that moment, it does make it less intense or less like, do you know what I mean? When I don't,
and it helps prevent tearing too.
Yeah, and I've never torn with any of them. So
amazing.
Oh, praise God. Yeah.
How long were you pushing for?
Probably maybe 5 minutes pushing. My pushing's been kind of, other than my first birth was the only one that really did the back and forth, like the head comes down, goes back up, over and over. Like that was my only birth like that. And then after that, they've all come out pretty straightforward, pretty fast after that.
Wow.
Yeah.
If Vivian could one day listen to this story, what would you want her to know about her birth and what it revealed about God for you and for her?
Oh my gosh, that makes me want to cry even thinking about that. I would probably tell her your birth is the birth that God showed me his heart and who he was. And I had this fear kind of going into, this was going to be my fifth baby. And there was a part of me that felt like how it's so true. You have, every time you're pregnant with your next, how is my love going to stretch even more?
Yes.
I don't have this fear with this one because of what God taught me with Vivian, my fifth. I don't have a fear around how am I going to love my sixth? How am I going to stretch even more? Because I was able to with my fifth, naturally, easily. And with Vivian, the way he met me in that labor and the way and what he was teaching me leading up to that labor really like made me feel like Vivian is special. Like he has like an anointing over her. I could feel that over her
Yeah.
in the weeks leading up to labor. And it really made me like feel connected to her in a deeper way that I hadn't been able to tap into because I'm busy with, 4 other kids. I hadn't really been like super present, I felt like, or present enough.
Mm.
So I had to,
Yeah.
because I hadn't been very present in that pregnancy, I felt like, oh, I don't know if I don't feel connected enough in this and this. But then that whole
Oh,
transformative thing really made me feel like she has she's something special in there. And and
yes.
like this child of God it made me so connected to her. Me being a child of God, her being a child of God, like
Yeah.
bonding us in this way.
Yeah.
And then because her birth was the first birth, like I'd always, so after I give birth, when I pull my baby up and I'm holding them for the first time, it's never like this beautiful moment, or it's a beautiful moment, but I'm not like crying, oh, my baby, thank you, Lord. I'm always kind of like looking around the room, like I'm like still so in shock and full of adrenaline that I'm like, it takes me a good like 10 minutes to kind of wind down from all that and connect with my
Yeah.
baby. I'm
Yep.
always,
Yep. That's normal. Yeah. It's more like
yeah,
relief, like, oh, it's over.
I feel like when I watch my videos back, I look like just like I'm in shock, like I'm stunned. Like I'm not like smiling. I'm like looking around like, am I alive? Is everyone like, oh my gosh. So
I love that. Let's normalize that too.
that it can be very normal. That insane adrenaline to push, it's like coming down from that.
Yeah.
So
Yes. Yeah.
anyways, with Vivian, I kind of had like, when I was kind of praying over this birth and what it could be, I prayed like, Lord, and I would love to have like a sweet moment of like thankfulness when I do hold her for the first time, because I hadn't really had that. I'm always so in shock that I'm never present in that moment. I was praying for just like a moment of feeling present after she comes out, like kind of fully feeling the magnitude of that moment, because I've always been too much in shock to really feel it in its magnitude. And
Mhm.
Vivian was the first birth where I got that moment where I'm holding her and I'm crying and I'm thanking Jesus and you know what I mean? It was kind of like, that to me was kind of like,
Yeah.
God didn't need to bless me with that. I could have been, in shock and delirious and bewildered, and that's totally fine too. But I do like looking back on that moment and holding her and thanking Jesus. And I it was just really a sweet, like final, like rip bow on top kind of for me of
Yeah.
feeling fully present in that moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Listening to this story, I feel like I know her
Yeah.
as a person, like the way God created her, the way, like you said, that she's so anointed. And I just love that he brought you so much joy in your labor.
Mhm.
Like I can only imagine how that must have imprinted on her, and also like confirmed who he created her to be, as this joy, this delight, this like unhinged, you know, like kid, like
Yeah.
person.
Yeah.
It's like, of course, her labor would be imprinted with joy and the supernatural, because that's who she is. Like
Mm-hmm.
the fact that God just like opened the door for that to happen.
Mm-hmm.
It's like he planned it all along. Like he's like, this girl's special. She's going to have a special labor, and you leaned into it. You were obedient to like trust God in that moment. And I think it just speaks so much to like the uniqueness of every child and every labor and every birth,
Mm-hmm.
and how the energy can be so different. Like I've had labors that are a party, like
Yeah.
that are fun. I had doulas and friends over and we're laughing and joking, and that child is a party. Like she is her own creature,
I
and
love
I've had
that.
others who are like sacred and intimate and profound. And I just feel like there was no mistake in
Yeah.
this entire story
Yeah.
with Vivian, who she is, who God created her to be,
Yeah.
and how her labor unfolded. It just feels like God just wrapped it up with a bow, like you
Yeah.
said.
Oh, that is so cool. I love that is so fun thinking about like the ways your labors are similar to like your kids. It's so fun thinking about that.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think when we let God write that story, I mean, I don't want to say like if you had a traumatic birth, your child is, doomed or so. I don't mean it like
Yeah.
that, but I feel like God, there's like moments where God weaves in like themes throughout that the pregnancy, the birth, like
Yeah.
with what we're going through as mothers and who our child is and like what God wants to show us and teach us. And like
Mhm.
it's just I don't know. There's just times that I feel like I couldn't have written this. Like I couldn't have
Yeah.
made this up, God. Like it was only
No.
you.
Right. Oh, yes. I love when God moves that way, when there's no room for it to be yourself. It had to be God,
Yeah.
you know? It's such like
Yeah.
a faith affirming thing when he does move that
Yeah.
way. I love that.
Yeah. What are you feeling God saying to you about this current baby, this pregnancy?
Oh, I'm very feeling like, and it's very similar to Vivian, where it's like he's asking me to like surrender and to trust and to leave and to lean in. And really, really within like the last days, I've been hearing like be still and know, like be still and know. And there is this like this kind of bittersweet feeling about this being our last, but that she's also like the one that's going to make our family complete, and she's kind of like our missing piece, and that makes me
Mm.
feel like that makes me feel connected to her and like she's our missing piece, and I can't wait for her to be
Yeah.
here and complete our family. So I'm yeah, I'm really excited for her just to be here, and for I feel like one of my sister-in-laws, we were praying together the other night over the birth, and my sister-in-law had said like, I really feel like this birth and bringing this baby girl into the world is going to like add this new layer of like glory and intentionality in your home. And
Mm.
and I really felt that when she said that, like she said, I feel like when you give birth to her, your home will be filled with glory in a way that like unites your family, and it'll kind of like mark the lives of your children. It was so cool, the things she was saying. I hadn't really thought
Oh, I love
I
it.
hadn't really thought about it as something that would impact my other kids having birth at home. I've thought about like if the older ones could be a part of it somehow, and I think I am going to have my older ones be a part of it in some capacity. But she was saying like how even just bringing that holy atmosphere into my home, how it could like affect the whole house,
Yeah.
kind of thing, which made me really
Yeah.
excited. It made me really excited thinking about it that way, kind
Oh,
of
I love
bringing
that.
like heaven into our home, you know? I guess
Yes.
so. I'm really excited about that.
Oh my gosh, yes. Like talk about just in preparing for labor. I love having women visualize what their birth could be like with God or
Yeah.
draw it even.
Yeah.
And I just feel like when we align our hearts with what heaven is saying over our babies and over our labors, we just set the stage for God to move.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
what a beautiful like thing that's going to happen in your home, even with your kids, and such a different experience than you've had with the others because you're
Yeah.
having it at home and
Right.
there's that opportunity for them to maybe participate or not, but
Yeah.
just like imagine what God could do.
Yeah.
A lot of our listeners want to know, how did you know this was your last?
Yeah. I feel like I had, so my fear was that I would never feel done, because this chapter of life of bringing my next child into the world, growing my family, has been such an honor and privilege, and I've loved it so much that I feel like, oh, am I never going to feel done? But I didn't want it to have to be like a logical decision. My prayer was that it was like a heart and head decision in alignment, and that I wouldn't have to be
Mm.
like, nope, even though you want more, you can't. Sorry.
Mm.
Logically, you're done. I had this fear that it was going to be like that. Like, you have to be done, kind of thing. But then with this one, like, as soon as I got pregnant, I really had like this sense of you're kind of complete. Your family's complete. Like,
Yeah.
she's, and really, really like being excited to the thought of being our family's complete, and just kind of looking at all my children and fully pouring into each one of them and just loving what I have and not feeling and being content. I have like it's like a deep sense of contentment of like completion, I guess, or being complete. It's a kind of
Yeah.
content and just excited to for that next chapter where I
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to. I don't know if that explains it well, but
It does. It does. What made you want to have a big family? Someone said, many of our listeners
yeah,
wanted to know that. They said they love big families and they're curious, like, why, what makes women want to have a big family?
yeah. So my husband came from a big family. He's one of five, and his mom will always say, "I wish I would have had one more." You know, she tells me
Oh,
that all the time. She's like, "I wish I
there you
would have had
go.
one more." And he had a really good experience growing
Yeah.
up. He's really close with his siblings. They're just an amazing, solid cream of the crop family, all of them.
Yeah.
And I'm one of four, so not super big, but like I'm a twin, and my older siblings we're all very close in age, so it felt like a big, maybe it felt like a big family in the sense that we were all very close in age. And I I I knew even from like being a kid that I wanted to have a bunch of babies. My mom, that's all I would tell my mom. Like when anyone would ask me what I want to be when I grow up, I just want to be a mom. And I would help her in the nursery each week at church. And I was always wanting to babysit. And I had been like, I just loved kids and babies my whole life. So I knew that I knew like that I was probably at least going to have four kids. And then, we have four kids and neither of us felt that piece about being done. And then we have five kids and we thought, it could go either way. And then time went on and we're like, no, we're definitely not done. And then with this one, it's like, okay, I feel like we're done. So it is.
A lot of people say, you just know, you just know.
I really feel like that was the case for us. And maybe it could be different for other women, but I do feel like that was the case for us where I do just feel done. But it didn't happen until I was pregnant with my sixth, I didn't have that feeling of, I like when I was pregnant with Vivian, I had like the thought in my mind, like, are we done? Are we, it was more of like a question for a while, I guess. But anyways,
Yeah.
yep. So I was excited to have a big family from day one, since being a little girl.
Oh, I love it. A lot of our listeners asked some variation of this question. They said, how do you stay so positive in moments of motherhood?
Yeah. I think it's because I've gone down the road of choosing not to be positive. Or I've had moments where I choose to succumb to those dark moments. There are moments in motherhood that can feel very heavy and lonely and isolating and dark. Like the overwhelm can feel very heavy. And there's been times where I've maybe like succumbed to that too much. And then I can spiral into like a negative headspace, into bitterness, into questioning my role as a mother and what I'm on this earth to do. And I've been down that path that like, I feel like it's like a pit, I don't want anything else than a joyful motherhood. My kids deserve that too. I don't want my kids to have
Yeah.
Yeah.
You deserve it and your kids deserve it.
Yeah.
That's so inspirational and you can choose it. I
Yeah.
love that. One last question. I thought this was kind of unique, not quite on the birth topic, but someone asked, do you have any advice for moms who want to feel more confident posting on social media?
Oh, okay. So there is like this element of you have to let go of fear of perception of how people are perceiving you, or in like you do have to let a lot of that go because people are going to perceive you how they want and you can't control it.
Yeah.
And I feel like what makes it the most life-giving for me is when I'm presenting my unapologetic self, my real self, my vulnerable self, makes it the most life-giving because if you come as you are, and I get probably the main negative comment I get. It's not even that negative. I'm very blessed with a very supportive, encouraging community. I feel very fortunate.
They absolutely love you and adore you because you show up so vulnerably and authentic.
I'm very honored. I'm truly, truly very honored by that. Like if I am going to get a negative comment, it's like because I'm like cringy. I'm cringy, I'm a cringy millennial and so.
But you own it. That's what's so great. Like, no, this is the thing. Like, people can't make fun of you and shame you when you're owning who you are.
Exactly.
Like, there's no apology in how you show up. And that's why I love it. I think that's why so many women love you and relate to you because you just show up as you. And there's no apology.
Yeah.
There's no trying to impress. It's just this is me, and I'm
Yeah.
cringy, and I
Right.
love me.
I am cringy. I'm cringy. You know, I'm a little nerdy. You know, I'm a little.
I showed my husband's like, who is this girl you're interviewing? I'm like, she's the best. And I showed him, I just pulled up a random video. It was the one of you saying like, oh, you have a cute too. You mean
The cute.
and
Oh my
every
gosh.
time I watch that video, I'm like, I love that you even had the confidence to share this story
my
on a cringy moment.
Oh, that was now when I think back on that, I can laugh, but I was
It's so
kind
great.
of, yeah.
And I think we all see that, and we women want to. I loved that question because it's like, how do you embody that confidence and show up in that, in your true self to this online world where you don't, like you said, you have to let go of people's perceptions because you have like 1 million or something followers. How are you going to control everyone's perception of you? You just have to let that go.
It's the only way that it'll be like doable and worth it for you. Like if you, it's the only way that it's like I said, like life giving. It can be doing social media can be very fun and rewarding, but it's only worth it if you're kind of presenting your authentic self, because otherwise it doesn't feel
and it has to be life-giving for you too.
Yeah, exactly.
At the end of the day.
Yes, 100%.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Well, Emily, thank you. I mean, we have hundreds of other questions, but we are already over time, so we will have to save them for another time.
Part 2, my sixth birth story. We'll be back.
Absolutely, I would love to have you back. Well, we need a part 2. We need an update. Yeah. If you guys want that, drop it in the comments.
How many
the show
days
notes.
Does Emily go past her labor or her due date? Or
I'll put up a poll.
What is a poll going to go into labor with this one?
Normally, I have my guests sometimes pray over our audience, but today I feel led to just pray over you and your upcoming 6th birth, if that's okay.
That. Oh, I would absolutely love that. Yeah.
So if you guys are listening, we'll just join together. She most likely will have had her baby by the time you're hearing this interview, but you can just join with me because there's no time in heaven, I guess.
I agree.
We'll just extend blessing to Emily. So Father God, thank you for the gift that Emily is to the world, the inspiration that she is to so many mothers. And I just pray for that you would just blow her mind with this next birth, that you would go above and beyond, that she would feel your presence in such a deeper way. And I don't even know like if that's possible. And I know our brains are going to try to figure this out, but I just feel like there's a realm of heaven that's going to invade your home in this next home birth, that God is going to just blow your mind. And you're going to look at it and be like, I didn't even know that was possible. I didn't know birth could be that good. I didn't know I could feel that ecstatic, that connected with God, that much love in my family. And I just release you, God, to just like bring heaven in, let heaven invade her home. Let any fears and worries or things that might pop up to try to derail her peace, I just command those to be silenced. I command those to just go away and fizzle out into nothing, and that there would be nothing but peace and joy and love in her home, and that you would just absolutely blow all of her expectations out of the water with this next birth, that your glory would fill her home, that your glory, your joy would be in her children's hearts, in her heart, in her husband's eyes, that there would just be pure light, and that this birth would be the perfect completion to her family. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you so
and
much.
To anyone else pregnant, you can receive that too. If you feel like that was for you, by faith, just claim that as well for your own birth.
Oh, thank you so much, Karen.
Thank you, Emily, for coming. We're going to have a fun time editing this one. We'll see you guys next week.